Everyone. My name is Patricia Kesler. I'm the Manager of Education and Community Engagement at Calgary Opera, and we are very fortunate to be here today with Alanna Fraize. Hi, Alanna.
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm in St. John's, Newfoundland right now. Um, a little about me, I'm a mezzo soprano, which is the voice type right below the soprano, which was the voice type of Gretel. And as a mezzo, I play a lot of pants roles. And a pants role is when a female plays the role of a male. And in this show, I was Hansel, so I was playing a pants role. So it was a very good example of a pants role in an opera.
Very cool. So, we're going to get right into the questions for you today. We have a bunch of questions from kids who had the opportunity to watch the performance in Alberta. And the first one is, Alanna, why do you sing opera?
I sing opera because it combines my two favorite things. I love singing and I love to tell a story, and an opera allows me to do both of those things at the same time.
What was your favorite part of the opera?
Definitely when I got to throw the cake on the floor. I've never been able to do that before without having to, you know, worry about the cleanup after.
Part. How long have you been singing opera, Alanna?
Well, I've been singing my whole life. My mom is a musician, so I was introduced to music um, at a very early age, but I decided to make opera my career of choice in high school. Um, it I was in some opera scenes, and it just opened it up for me. I loved being on stage, and it I caught the opera bug.
It shows that you love it, absolutely. So this is an interesting question that one of the kids, I think from Olympic Heights School, asked, and I think is hilarious. Why didn't Hansel and Gretel just tell their dad the truth about the cake?
I think Hansel is a bit of a klutz, tends to break things. So this is not the first time this has happened. So I wanted to avoid the inevitable and see if I could just fix the problem before my dad found out, because it was his birthday and I didn't want him to worry. That was kind of my idea of why we didn't tell him at first.
That is perfect. It's a perfect answer. And the last question we have for you today, coming from the kids, is do any of the singers, yourself included, actually have a TikTok account?
I'm not sure about the other singers, but this was actually the first time I've ever made a TikTok, and I it was very tricky for me actually. I kept trying to press record, but it wouldn't keep going, and I gained major respect for people who make TikToks on a regular basis because I am terrible at it.
Oh, maybe it's like a new social media platform for you to explore now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much, Alana, for your time. We appreciate you being here. And I'm sure if the kids were here now, you would get a lot of cheers and claps and so feel so much of the joy and the love that they had for your performance. Thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Hi, it's Patricia again. We're here today with Kallie Clayton, who played Gretel in our production of Hansel and Gretel. Hi, Kallie.
Hey, Patricia. Nice to see you. Yes, I'm Callie, and I got to play Gretel. And I'm here in my home in Vancouver, but I am originally from Red Deer, Alberta, which I'm pretty sure some of you might be as well.
Awesome. And what's your voice type, Callie?
I'm a soprano, so one of the highest voice types.
Very cool. Okay, well, let's get into the questions. I got a ton of questions from all the kids who got the opportunity to see the show. Was it difficult to lip sync?
Ooh, that's a great question. This is definitely the first time I've ever had to lip sync for an opera. And it was tricky. The nice thing was that we got to record the audio, so all the music you hear was recorded before we actually shot it. So we had a chance to practice working on our lip syncing skills. And one good tip or trick that we kind of figured out is you really have to lip sync with the same amount of energy and intensity as you would if you were actually singing. Otherwise, it kind of looks strange.
Yeah, that's a great tip, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Our next question is, how did they sing the whole movie? How did they sing, or how did you sing the whole movie and remember all of your lines?
Ooh, that's another good question. And because we film this, is a little bit different than most operas. So usually a staged opera that you would see live could be anywhere up to 2 hours, even longer. There's some operas out there that are like 4 hours long. And we have to memorize them all. But we do that by practicing a lot. Also, I have tips and tricks that I use, like writing down my words to kind of get it into my brain a different way. Also good for tests and quizzes. And also, the thing with this, because we filmed the opera, we actually did it in little chunks. So we could kind of prepare for the little chunk rather than the whole 40 minutes of opera at a time. So it was kind of a nice little break from our normal routine.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine how memorizing 3 hours of singing would be challenging.
It takes many hours to get it to that point, for sure.
Of course, my gosh. Oh, how long can you hold your highest pitch for? This is a
Oh,
popular question in the schools always.
I'm sure. This is yeah, and we've had questions like that before. How high can you sing and that sort of thing? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
on Zoom, it's a little tricky to do it. We wouldn't hear it very well, but I had to time myself because I've never had that question before. And I think I got in my practice session yesterday anywhere between 10 and 15 seconds on my highest note. Can do some of the lower ones a little bit longer, but if it's at the highest, that's a lot of energy to use.
That is a really good point, just how much energy it takes to sing,
Mm-hmm.
all of those different notes.
A lot of air.
This next question is, what other operas have you done before, and what was your the favorite one that you've been in?
Oh my goodness. I think every opera I've ever been in has been my favorite. There's always something to find that's exciting or that you just either love about the music. But two operas, I'm going to say two. I know somebody asked for one, but I've been in Elixir of Love, and that was a lot of fun because there was a confetti cannon at the end in our production. But another opera that's very dear to my heart and I really, really love performing in is La Boheme. And mostly that's just because it's a beautiful story and beautiful music. So some operas are fun because you get to do fun things in them, and then some of them you just love because it's beautiful.
So because there were because this was a modernized version of the story, there was TikTok, McDonald's, all of these kinds of things that really captured the imagination of a lot of the kids and made the story really relatable. A lot of the kids, could see themselves in these scenarios. And one of the most popular questions that was asked about those modern elements was, did you actually get to eat the McDonald's?
You know what? I didn't get to eat any McDonald's. And in fact, the way
What?
that filming works is that the day that I think they even filmed that, I was nowhere to be seen. But there also happened to be a lot of cupcakes on set. And we definitely got to have some of those and chocolate cake. So,
You guys got to eat some of the cake?
yes, because there were more than one cake.
Yeah, that's right.
They had to destroy one or two of them. So, yeah, there was some cake to be eaten.
Amazing. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
It was pretty great.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, thank you so much, Callie. I really appreciate you answering the questions for us today and you being with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. It's Patricia again. We're here today with Lillian Brooks, who played Hansel in our performance of Hansel and Gretel. Hi, Lillian.
I'm just here at home in Ontario. I've been home for about a week since I came back from Alberta. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a mezzo-soprano, which means that I have a lower singing voice than other female singers who usually sing as soprano. So just so you guys know a little bit about the difference between those two singers.
Very cool. How did Hansel and Gretel know what movements to do when the witch waved her hand?
Right, that's a really good question, actually. So Hansel and Gretel and the witch and the father and everybody, we had a lot to do in every scene that we were in. The nice thing about that is that we actually didn't have to make that all up on our own. So in a production, you have someone who is the role of the director. So the director is the person who yells lights, camera, action. They're also the person who plans how they want the show to look from start to finish. So our director's name was Aaron. He was super helpful and loved the show. So it was really good to work with him. So he actually told us, so Kallie was Gretel in the performance that I did. So Aaron told Kallie and I, when the witch waves her wand, here's exactly what I want you to do. So that's really helpful. But we also have the help of the music. That's what's great about singing in opera or in musical theater, is the music actually gives you a lot of clues about when things are supposed to happen. So the witch will say, hocus pocus, elder bush, and then there's a little ba-da-dum in the music. So on that little da-da-dum, we both know that we have to do something. So the key is that we have to remember what it is we're supposed to do. But that's called a cue. In music, that's called cues. So we have to remember what our cues are, and then everything flows nice and smoothly.
Yeah, that is great insight into the process. Makes a lot of sense. Now, the next question is a question that when we do our school tour in schools, which is what we've done in the past, this question gets asked a lot. And it is, how can you sing so loud?
Awesome. Yeah, we've gotten this question a lot in the past years. Yeah, it's a really interesting question because, you know, you're used to hearing people sing on the radio or on iTunes or Spotify or something like that, and you're listening to your headphones. But when you're watching an opera, the singers don't have microphones. So we have to be able to sing really loud in a huge room for thousands of people without hurting our voices. So we're not really yelling or screaming or anything like that. So we have to make sure that we learn all of the ways to sing without hurting our voice, without hurting our throat. So there's a lot of practice that goes into that. We work with teachers and we work with other musicians that help us to figure that out. And it's kind of hard to explain in a short little amount of time, but a really fun thing that I was told when I was just learning how to sing in order to imagine what the feeling is like is when you yawn, sometimes, you know, when you yawn, you go, ah, and you have a big sigh like that. That's almost what singing opera feels like, because you have a really big open space in the back of your throat. Your mouth is really wide. You have a lot of breath moving through you. So that's a really fun way to kind of get the feeling of it. It's not shouting, but it's kind of controlled yelling to a tune.
That's a good thing for kids to practice, controlled yelling.
Yeah.
I like that. Do you prefer, performing on film or on stage?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I've thought about this a little bit. This year was totally different with COVID. We had to do things on film because we can't sing live for people. So it was a hard thing to get used to. But I think that there's fun parts of doing either one. So when you're working on film, it's a little bit easier than singing on stage, because when you work on film, remember I was talking about the director earlier? So the director yells action, and then you can work on a small little piece of music, and then the director will yell cut, and you can either try it again if you made a mistake, or if you forgot something, or if they need a different angle. So it's kind of fun because you can work in smaller sections. So it's almost like there's less pressure, but you don't have a live audience. So that's what we as opera singers are so used to, is we love walking out on stage. You're wearing big costumes and lots of makeup and stuff, and you can't always see people in the audience if the lights are really bright, but we know they're out there, they're clapping, they're cheering. So nothing really compares to that. There's a little more pressure because you have to go from when you walk on stage until you leave stage and make sure that you don't make any mistakes, because you kind of have to just keep going. But it's fun. It's sort of a fun challenge, and you're out there with other singers. So nothing really compares. I hope that we can get back to singing live again soon, because that's where we belong, on stage.
Our next question is, this is a really good question. Do you ever accidentally sing instead of talk in real life?
Yeah, that's a funny question. I had to think about this a little bit. I don't think I've ever accidentally sung instead of talked when I meant to talk. But I do notice that, like, I sing to myself, like, you know how you'll talk to yourself, like, oh, I wonder where I put my water bottle, or, you know, that kind of thing. So I do it a lot in the kitchen. I'll be like making pasta and I'm like, okay, time to put the water in the pot and we got to get the pasta from the cupboard. So I'll sing quietly to myself and anyone around me is like, what's going on? But so I do that sometimes.
I love that so much.
Great.
I think because of the TikTok addition of TikTok into this performance, it brought a lot of kids asked whether the singers play video games. So do you play video games?
That's a fun question too. Yeah, I do. I love video games. It's a really fun way. I mean, anything you do, you have to do in moderation. Make sure you practice your music, make sure you do your homework, all that stuff. But I love playing video games. I think it's so fun to like go into a different world. My favorite video games are Skyrim. I like to play Overwatch, and I really like Nintendo games. I love Mario Kart and any game that has Yoshi. I love Yoshi. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it's just like, it's really fun. You know, there's always good characters and good story and stuff. So it's a good way to keep your mind kind of busy, but without focusing on too much stuff. So yeah, I really like it. It's a good way to relax.
That's awesome. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you so much. We loved having you today, Lillian. Thank you so much for your time and for answering these questions. And thank you for your great performance in the show that that the kids just loved.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Hope I get to see you guys next year.
Hi, everybody. So nice to see everybody again. We're here today with Jeremy Dube. He was the father and the Sandman for our production. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Patricia, and hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Jeremy Dube. I played the Sandman and Father. I am a baritone, and I'm currently joining you from Sydney, Australia.
Wow, it's a long way away. Is that where you normally live, Jeremy?
It's where I have been living for a long time. I was actually born in Halifax, but I've spent a lot of time here in Sydney. So it's where I'm going to spend my time here while Calgary Opera is on a bit of a break, and then I'll come back to Calgary soon.
Our first question comes to you from some of the kids at Olympic Heights School, and they wanted to know, how can you sing for so long?
Well, that's with lots of practice and training. As an opera singer, we're taught how to breathe better and how to try and use the air well, which then allows us to have those really long notes, those really long musical phrases. In terms of then singing a long opera, it's a lot like when you're running or swimming, you practice for hours and hours over a long period of time so that then you can run for a long time and swim for a long time. So it's like a muscle.
Yeah, so being an opera singer is like being an athlete.
It is what people say. It's what people say. So yes, absolutely.
Cool. Our next question is, how long did it take you to memorize all of your lines?
I think it took me about a week or two. It was really an interesting process because when we recorded the music, we didn't have to have it memorized because all the audio was done before we did the video. So by the time that we had to do the filming, it was definitely memorized because it was about a month or so after we'd actually done the audio recording. And of course, we weren't able to film and sing at the same time because we weren't allowed to sing in the same room due to COVID restrictions.
A lot of kids wanted to know, do you play video games?
I do actually. Yeah,
What?
I do. I know. And I know I'm not the only one of the singers that does. It's something that you can do to relax after work, after a busy day. You can sit down and play some video games. Some games that I would play that the kids would know would be Minecraft or Rocket League, which Rocket League is about playing soccer as a car.
Oh, I know it. I've seen my son play it.
Yeah. So that's some of the games that the kids might know.
Cool, that's so funny. But it's good. Yeah, I think that so many kids can relate to that, especially during these times when we're all kind of sitting at home for many, many hours.
Absolutely. It's a good way to spend time, especially if you're playing at the moment with your family, I guess, because you can't really socialize and play with friends unless it's online.
Yeah, exactly. So the TikTok video part, when Hansel and Gretel did that at the start, was also a huge hit. So the kids wanted to know, do you know if any of the singers actually have a TikTok account?
I don't have a TikTok, unfortunately. I think some of the other singers have a TikTok account, but I wouldn't be able to point you in their direction because I'm not quite sure. Uh, I watch some TikTok sometimes, but I don't have an account myself.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a question that really is just for you, and for Dominic, who was the other Sandman and father. How was playing two different roles for you?
I think it was really fun. It was because of the way that we filmed the opera. It wasn't the same as if we were performing the opera normally or with the stage in a traditional way, where you have to really think, okay, I'm the father now, and then an hour or two later, I'm the Sandman. Because we had it so separate, it was I had my father days, I had my Sandman day, and it was really fun because the father has such a great entrance in the opera. You know, he's coming up the stairs and he bursts into the apartment before everything goes wrong. And then the Sandman was so fun in the other ways because of the way we used makeup and the facial hair and costuming to really transform Dominic and myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to know. It's actually some kids didn't realize that you were the same person. I know that some of them were, yeah, some of them were surprised that it was the same person.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's such a transformation.
yeah. Hair and makeup did a really good job.
Oh yeah.
Another question that we have for you is this your first time working on camera or with cameras?
I've done a couple of things with camera, just smaller things, but this is definitely my first time working on a larger scale with an opera and filming it in this way. We worked with some cameras recently when we did the Yuletide, especially in terms of Calgary Opera productions. We've used the camera a couple of different times, but this was really the first time having an opera made specifically for camera in this way.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it worked really well. It translated really, really well.
It really did.
Yeah.
It is the times I've watched it, it's just fantastic.
When did you start singing opera?
So I started singing in general when I was in primary school, elementary school, in things like school choirs, and then I stopped for a little bit. I played some other musical instruments, and then when I was in middle school, I then wanted to take singing back up because it was something that I really had enjoyed and had continued to enjoy, but not studying at school or anything like that. So then I started back in middle school, and then I started doing voice lessons privately with a teacher, and then continued through to high school, where then I started looking at classical music and opera, and then I realized I came to the decision that it was something that I wanted to continue, and then I studied at university for 4 years, and then 2 another years, so 6 years in total at university, and then I've been working. I worked in Australia for a couple of years, and now I'm here in Calgary. So it's been quite a long time of singing. As I was saying earlier, it's lots of practice, and so it's been quite a long time. But like any of the kids, they can start singing if they have a choir or if they want to do lessons and all this thing and all those kind of ways that you can sing, whether in school or outside of school. But I didn't start singing classically and start singing opera until I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
And before then, I did things like musical theatre or jazz or some other things like that.
Hmm. Well, it paid off.
I
Your
hope
performance
so.
was great. Yeah, no, your performance was amazing. Um, yeah, everybody just did such a good job, and it was a pleasure watching it, and it was a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Really nice to
Thank
talk to
you.
you.